Hello, fellow beings of light, and welcome to not only episode 14 of our podcast, but to our spring energy update as well. This is where you will get a sneak peek into our themes for the new season, into what is coming through for them, as well as some updates on what we have been up to behind the scenes, all of the offerings that have been coming through or being expanded upon over the last 6 weeks or so. And as an added bonus, I was part of the most beautiful experience last night during an impromptu session with a close friend that she has offered up for me to share with all of you without me even asking. And I'm being called to go ahead and do that, to honor her choice, to share it. Before we get to that and all that comes before it, though, a bit of a recap. Our winter themes of reset and reconnect, they began to lay some groundwork, or rather to plant some seeds for the journey ahead over the course of 2025. My team and I, we asked that you begin to question, to reset your perspectives, your agreements, your attachments, your alignments, and even beyond that as we got towards the end of it. We then asked that you begin to open yourself up to reconnect with the flow and cycles of life, with your chaperones, your guides, and with your core, your heart center, your inner fire, your intuition. Now, as we enter the months and energy of spring, it is time to nurture those seeds and allow them to begin to expand and bloom into moments of remembrance, into the experiences you were intended to have when you incarnated into your physical body here on Earth, and hopefully into a bit more of the who and what you are and the why of your individual purpose while you are here. With that said, the themes coming through for spring are release and restore. This is where our questioning starts to shift into letting go, where we start reclaiming what is ours, what always was ours, and what always will be ours. And in case you are wondering, yes, our recent focus on polarity will continue, not just because it's relevant to the themes at hand, but because I am realizing that is kind of one of my superpowers. What do I mean by that? When light bodies volunteered for the experiment that is our human experience, they broke off 6 pieces of themselves into 6 separate consciousness fragments, what we know as 4D through 9D, into 6 separate soul aspects. This is a big part of the forgetting that we all undergo in becoming human. We each have 1/6 of the puzzle in terms of consciousness between the 3D earth level and our 10D light body level. And these truths, they are yet another reason why I am being called to shift away from using the term ascension and towards using the term reconvergence instead. Because the consciousness fragments, or levels, as most of you have learned to call them, aren't something we need to climb up, to ascend, to achieve, to be reunited with our light body. They are something we need to reconverge with. I am a prime example of that. I'm pretty sure I am not master of all 6 of those fragments of those levels, but I have a close relationship and connection with my light body already. You can too. Everyone can. There's no ladder you need to climb up to get there. All we need do is reconverge with our fellow 5 soul aspects, our fellow 5 consciousness fragments to separate from our light body, making 6, making us whole, and thus making our light body whole again and allowing them to reawaken. This shift in perspective and knowledge, it's not getting off track, although I do have a tendency to do that. It's actually getting back on it, getting all of us back on track. It will have a role to play, just like my 90 unification, and yep, that's my consciousness fragment, superpower of being able to not only approach everything from a perspective of polarity, but to bring the 2 opposing poles, the 2 opposing sides of everything together at the center, at the balance point, to unite them there as one with each other and with Source. And that is relevant because as we wrap up spring and the month of May, we will be delving into helping you begin to discover your own fragment, your own superpower, the knowledge and abilities associated with your soul aspects, specific consciousness fragment that you are able to receive and master in ways your fellow 5 soul aspects cannot, because they have their own consciousness fragment, their own fragment to master and have a superpower in. We can all learn each fragment, each set of knowledge and abilities associated with them, but we can only master, only unlock the, let's call it bonus, superpower, the leveled up version of that knowledge and abilities that belong to our unique fragment. Before we get there, though, we have 10 other weeks of spring to work through, and those weeks will be filled with embracing your inner child and using that pure, centered, balanced state of being to cleanse and re-experience the opposing divine feminine and divine masculine within you, within each of us in a new light. Challenging and releasing fear and judgment-based thinking and habits in the process, and reclaiming your sovereignty at your center point, at your balance point, which we touched on during our lunar eclipse and blood moon activation, and beginning to truly heal blocks and limitations across not only your life, but across timelines, dimensions, and beyond for your soul aspect and your light body. Now, if all of that sounds like a lot of work, not to worry, there will be some celebrating, some self-care thrown in at about the halfway point to help carry you, all of us, through the unfolding expansion and blooming we will be experiencing. A lot of calibrating, a lot of activating, and a lot of reconverging, or integrating, another word my team doesn't really like. But you will get there. We will all get there together. And by I mean all of you, myself, and the members of my team that will come forward to help me with the episodes, for the accompanying activations, and overall for the themes themselves as we move through them. And as those themes open doors for a lot of the offerings I have been called to begin and expand upon lately. I'm interested to see where we land in the end when our 12 weeks of spring come to an end, where they will guide us. Because the winter season we just wrapped up, it was a roller coaster of unfolding in and of itself. And I had no idea where it would lead ahead of time. It unfolds for me as much as it does for all of you, in different ways maybe, but it still unfolds. Before we get to that, though, I am being called to say that a lot today. Before we get to that, though, we have to start at the beginning with who our guides for the overall themes of spring will be. The ones who will guide the flow and call upon other guides for all of the individual pieces that come through. For winter, it was my light-bodied Leora, her, or rather our, Andromedan grandmother Chlora, and the Andromedan dolphins. I think I'm getting the why of that now in hindsight. It was a feeling of home and of family as we kicked off our very first season, our very first podcast episodes, our very first activations. It was the guides that I needed, those that would help me push through the initial nerves and uncertainty of leaping off into the deep end of something new. Yeah, I like that. Now, we, myself included, made massive leaps and bounds throughout the winter season, and we are all ready, collectively ready, to be thrown into the deep end of growth and blooming that is spring. So let's go ahead and see who will be coming forward for the overall themes for spring. Who will be swimming in that deep end along with us? I am definitely getting Isis, and she's already giving me her song selection to add to our 2025 guides playlist, which, if you didn't catch our winter update, the guides from our updates all year are coming through with songs to add for their role in our seasonal themes. I'll remember to link to it with the new additions in the description below. The very impatient Isis is adding One Republic, Secrets, and I get why, and why now, because she will be spilling lots of secrets from the Council of 12 that interfered with all of the blueprints I am tasked with repairing or replacing, and more secrets beyond them throughout the book I'm being called to begin sharing in installments for our community members starting next month, and then in full publicly a year from now. So adding her and her song. Who is next? Hathor, which is interesting because we haven't really gotten a chance to connect deeper yet. She is actually a guide that originally came forward through me for the friend whose session I will be sharing later. She is all about the vibes, harmonizing, and I guess better late than never for us starting to work and co-create together, since she will also be a part of some of our upcoming offerings. And I'm betting you in your harmony, you have a song ready, don't you? Ooh, I like it. Brave by Sarah Bareilles. I think that one is self-explanatory, and I think I know which episode of our theme she will be joining in for. I'm not telling, though. And let's see. Last but not least, I'm actually getting a nudge that that isn't true. It's not. There will be two masculine energies to balance out the two female ones. Okay, then. I guess we have 4 guides this season. Next up is, let's see, Gushar, the Arcturian, who is also a newer addition to my team and who, by the way, recently showed me that he had an amazing sense of humor despite how uptight and mechanical he can come across. Do you have a song for us? James Bay, Let It Go. It's got me a bit emotional there because that's a song I connect with for the exact reason he's bringing it through. Embracing our differences, allowing ourselves and others to be different, to just be. Letting go of the delusions of right or wrong, good or bad, of everyone needing to be the same. Thank you for that one, my friend. And last up, checking. Yep, last. Oh, I should have known. Another new friend, little Sanat Kumara, and his fellow soul aspect, who is presently a little boy on Earth right now, Tay. And what song do the pair of you have for us? Alessia Cara, Wild Things. I think I get it, but okay, I don't need to get it apparently. Okay, we have our themes, we have our guides, and we have our playlist additions for spring. And I'm getting that there is not going to be an opening message this time around. Is that right? No, there won't be. There appears to be a consensus that me sharing what happened last night is more important. That it conveys what they would have to say, the overall message they would have to give, far better than their own words would. Let's go ahead and get into that then, because I'm feeling like it is also more important than the in-depth discussion of all our offering changes and additions that I had originally planned on. Okay, yeah, it is. They're in agreement with that. So I will honor that while at the same time honoring my friend Tina's experience and her desire to have it shared. So Tina is someone who has become a very close friend in a very short amount of time. We met at the end of January during a course we were both taking. We connected, we began to build off and support each other through our expansion in that course and now beyond it. We also happen to both be participating in a second, not quite course, but offering together that focuses on soul integration. And part of that experience has been engaging in 2 one-on-one sessions with those hosting. As we have navigated those sessions, I have increasingly felt from her energy field, her struggling with receiving, sort of like the outline of something big, but not being able to get past that, not being able to cross that line into what, or rather who, was inside of it. Last night, she had just finished up a third one-on-one session. She had added on to try again, and she tried to downplay that whatever she was trying to receive and reach for was still just outside of her grasp. But I know her better than that. So when she gave me a bit of what had been coming through during the session, just this energy, not human or even solid, just an energy being that was translucent and changing colors. She is actually going to laugh when she listens to this, because now that I'm repeating it and looking at the channeled image she created, I'm just thinking jellyfish, which is funny because I not only shared a picture of one during that first course we took together, but I also drew light codes for her that were in the shape of a jellyfish. That is a connection for me and her to get into, though. So I took what she said, the description of it, and I did my thing, overlaying my energy field and consciousness with hers, and seeking this energy out, trying to connect with it through her and bring it forward closer on her behalf. It wasn't easy. There was definitely something major blocking the connection, not just for Tina, but for anyone trying to connect with this energy source for her. I was struggling too, so I went back to basics. I had received that the energy field was an oversoul energy. So I broke out my pendulum since I couldn't communicate directly, and I opened myself up for whatever or whoever was trying to come through to communicate through it. Sort of like finding a loophole to whatever block in communication was happening. I worked through the different oversoul entities, narrowed it down to the raw oversoul with some kind of Lyran connection. And I say some kind of because when I asked about the Lyran oversoul, my pendulum did something very rare for it. It stood absolutely still. It would not give me a yes or no. I focused in on that, started looking for connections between the two, and as I was, something started tugging at me from a pre-channeling I had done before our second phone call with each other during that first course we took together. Pisces, the astrological sign. It didn't mean anything to her at the time, but it was tugging at me in the present. And I had recently done a reading with her galactic astrology chart. So I opened that back up and I found her Pisces connection, which was on her Chiron line, and added that in with a search of the raw oversoul, and just kept following the breadcrumbs from there that my intuition and whatever energy was coming through for Tina was leading me through. by using those yes and no questions and my pendulum. And where I landed was Atlantis, which she had mentioned did have meaning for her during her prior sessions. On Ra and his Law of One, his unity teachings, which spanned before the separation and Earth, as well as multiple waves of incarnations on it, including Atlantis. Ra, his Law of One teachings, the sons of the Law of One, who helped Ra spread his teachings of unity and of using energy for uniting and healing in Atlantis. Teachings that were distorted and misused for power. A part of why Atlantis failed. A group that was persecuted and suppressed for their beliefs and their teachings. As I started connecting those dots, I could feel the energy of this presence that had been coming through for her in her other sessions. I could feel the heat of it, like sparks and fire on my arms and shoulders, across my chest, letting me know I was on the right track, guiding me in a way beyond using the pendulum. So I started asking more yes and no questions, using both tools, about Tina's potential relationship with this group and those in it. And what I was finally able to get through was that her soul aspect, her first incarnation as a human, had been in Atlantis, that she wasn't a member of the Sons of the Law of One, but had been in a relationship with one of the members and had aided their cause, been persecuted and suppressed right along with them. Once I unlocked that knowledge, I began to receive a flood of visuals, of memories of them together in Atlantis, of him being Lyran, so not human, and at the same time having a disguise. There was some form of technology that was disguising his galactic appearance to make him fit in with the humans. Curious whether all galactics in Atlantis and the other places had to do that. That's a question for another time, though. Despite this, I still couldn't get through whatever was blocking my ability to communicate with him or even connect with his memories in the present. Just those flashes of the past and the energy presence that Tina had been receiving, the Ra oversoul. So Tina and I started questioning the why behind that, using the pendulum, using that energy presence, trying to figure out why we couldn't access him or communicate with him, why he was coming through as the oversoul and not as himself directly. And what we got to was that there was an agreement of not just forgetting, but of blocking communication between them, directly or indirectly through others. An agreement that they had put in place themselves, both of them, that her first incarnation had asked for, because they knew that as Atlantis was failing, he would have to return to above, and she would return to below, reincarnating as human again. They would be separated from each other physically, potentially, infinitely. And so they agreed that she would forget him, that they wouldn't communicate. It was very sad, especially since one of the questions I had asked was if he was her twin flame, her light body's twin flame? And the answer to that was yes. So I can't even imagine how hard that must be to live without someone for that long, without being able to connect with them, because it was very clear he didn't forget. The agreement between them was just that she would forget. But now that we knew what that block was and that he clearly was trying to reach out to her, we could try and do something about that. I was honest with her that I was getting that they would both have to release the agreement at the same time to remove it, and that he was ready to do that if that's what she truly wanted, but that I wasn't really sure if I'd be able to facilitate that. I've never done anything like that before. She was on the case too, though, and she found her pendulum on her end, and we worked out setting an intention of releasing it, to write it down, what the agreement was, and do it over that, use the pendulum over that, saying, I, release this agreement to forget you and block communication with you. Then ask if he releases it too. And what ended up happening is we both did that on both of our ends with our individual pendulums. Tina for herself and me for and through her twin flame at the same time. And we did that for about 5 minutes. What happened during that 5 minutes was the craziest and most amazing thing. As we were doing it, my pendulum, which has only ever given me up, down, yes answers and side to side no answers, never anything else, no maybes, nothing. It started swinging in this big clockwise circle. And the more it did so, the more I repeated what the intention was, the more I started to get there was something not right. And I don't know why, maybe it was just my intuition, but I asked it to stop and to start swinging in the other direction, to go backwards in time, to go counterclockwise, to erase the past, to release the agreement. And I just kept repeating that. Erase the past, release the agreement, release the agreement. And telling it to stop when it was complete. And it did stop. It was complete, not just on my end with what I was experiencing, but on Tina's end at the same exact moment with what she was experiencing. That agreement that they had made in Atlantis was released. Their connection, their ability to communicate was reopened. The feeling afterwards, how much stronger his energy and presence was for both of us, it was a beautiful thing, a beautiful experience to be a part of. And I am so grateful that she not only allowed me to be a part of that, but allowed me to facilitate that for her, to build on my own experience and expand in my own abilities. And also, I'm grateful that she offered her experience, for this experience to be shared with all of you, because she felt like it was important. It is, because yes, it connects in with the offerings that I've been called to add through our website, that I've been called to go ahead and expand upon or begin offering. Our galactic soul readings that work with galactic astrological charts, our 3 degrees of timeline separation program, our 6 degrees of soul separation program, and more, which are all separate things, all separate offerings, But as this experience that I just shared with you, this session just showed, they also work together in a way. They connect, they contribute to the breadcrumbs that lead to remembrance and expansion. But it also connects in with our themes for winter that we are leaving behind, and for spring as well, which we are entering. The importance of questioning everything, of resetting your perspectives. And yeah, especially in the context of agreements on all levels that we discussed way back in episode 4 in December during our winter theme. We never would have gotten past that block in communication and connection if we hadn't started questioning it, the why and how behind it. And now as we head into spring, where that questioning starts to shift into letting go, releasing what is no longer aligning when it comes to perspectives and what we've known as the truth, the answers we are receiving to those questions that are not in alignment with our inner truths, with our core, our intuition. And we are going to keep building on that. Myself, my team, beyond them to above, the universe, source. We are going to increasingly call upon you to question things, to shift your perspectives, and let go of some of them to make way for a greater truth. We are going to increasingly work to dispel the illusions and disturbances to everything that we have thought we knew about the experiment that is our human experiment. Oop. We are going to increasingly work to dispel the illusions and disturbances to everything that we have thought we knew about the experiment that is our human experience, about the separation of light bodies into soul aspects, about ascension. We are going to increasingly work to not only share the truth with you, but to correct those illusions and disturbances, to repair and replace the damage caused to what we have been receiving and to the blueprints for all of those three things, the experiment, separation, ascension, that have been not working for so long, correcting it so that they can work, so that they can function as intended, so that we can become one again, whole again, and our light bodies can reawaken as was intended. Okay, I am being told that's enough. So I'm going to end this episode here. Thank you for joining us for our spring update, and more importantly, for the sharing of Tina's experience and what it had to illuminate for us. And thank you once again to Tina for offering to allow me to share that. I hope that you will continue to join us as we move forward with episodes that revolve around our spring themes, and for my continuing 6 degrees of soul separation journey that I've been sharing every other week. I'm not going to give you a day of the week for that because my team has notoriously refused to stick to it. But it will be weekly as usual starting this coming week, so we can start to get back onto schedule. And you know what? I'm just going to trust their divine timing. And yeah, I make jokes about that all the time, about there being reasons why some things get delayed. But it's true. This spring update has been delayed by over a week. And while I initially thought it was just because the website and the offerings needed to update, that they weren't ready, I now know with absolute certainty that it was delayed because I needed to wait for what happened last night, for that impromptu session with Tina, what we experienced together, what she was called to share with all of you through me. That was more important than getting it out on time. And I hope that if her experience resonated with you, called to something in you that maybe you're experiencing, that you will take the time to visit our website, blueprintreclamationproject.com. I will include a link in the description as always, and just take a look around. See what we have to offer and share with you. See what might call to you when it comes to blocks you have been experiencing or beyond. I will see you guys next week in our podcast that will get into questioning and reconsidering the divine masculine and feminine in the light of polarity, of unity instead of separation, and the accompanying activation that will be released shortly after it. Arishkatakati.